So
Well, there's a performer bug, whether
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
stand-up comedians or wrestling or yeah, there's something that we're
Oh,
trying to
well,
prove.
well, look, there's this, not to go to the Friends well too often, but Bruce Willis had one of these great guest roles on Friends, in which he's this stoic guy. He is the father of the student who Ross is dating. He doesn't like it. Comes in, asserts his will, starts dating the Jennifer Aniston character of Rachel on Friends, and she's trying to get him to open up. And he, no, nothing there, nothing there. And then he finally confides in her that his family was too poor to get a big wheel.
Mm.
And they got him something that was like a chicken mobile. And now the guy breaks down. He goes, he used to call me the chicken man. And now she can't get him to stop crying
Right.
because she's opened up, that wound. So it's kind of the same thing with the men out there, men and women who are looking for something they didn't have. Yeah, we want to perform, but we're also looking for that support. So now my friend D Snyder, D and I have been tight for a long time. He says the same thing. Like he said, I think he wrote in his book, he did a really good job, wrote his own book. And he talked about being a lead singer or being a musician in general. He's like, you don't get the microphone, stand up in front of a room of strangers and say like, I'm worth listening to, because you're going to get the crap beaten out of you.
Sure.
Emotionally, we're talking about.
Sure.
So this is interesting. And stop me if you think I go off on too many tangents. But last night after I did the meet and greet, the manager was really happy. He's still a stand-up comic.
Great
And he
guy.
said, yeah, great guy. And and I'm relaying to him, a subject of Bobcat Goldthwait comes up. And I said, tell Bobcat Goldthwait, who's going to be there next month, tell him I loved World's Greatest Father with Robin Williams. It's a very dark comedy, but man, it's just a great role. And it's really hit me hard. One of the great speeches to me in cinematic history where Robin Williams is talking about his son who's taken on this cult-like fame in the aftermath of a suicide by sexual asphyxiation, which Robin Williams has doctored to make it look like his son was, too long for the world, too sensitive. He writes the suicide note, and this kid takes on a popularity he never had in life. And so now the people got shirts and the kid is super over, and Robin Williams is giving like the speech at the big, memorial. He goes, my son, and he realized he's gone too far with this. He goes, my son was a douchebag. He opens up about what an awful human being his son was, but he says, but I loved him. And so he's trying to say he's not who you think he was.
Yeah.
But everybody, despite their frailties and their faults, deserves to be loved. And
Yes.
It's just really powerful. I'm getting these, the things are on the scalp, when you get the emotional. So that's happening to me now. So I said, why do you think it is? I said, he was so manic and crazy on stage, Bobcat Goldthwait, as a comedian. And for people who never saw his stuff, just think of him. Bobcat Goldthwait was the guy that Bill Murray fired in Scrooged.
Yes.
So he's essentially doing his stand-up in that character. And it was one of those things, you either like him or you didn't. I did like him.
I did too.
But I thought it was really noteworthy that when it comes to writing, being a writer and a director, he would gravitate to much darker, more serious material. And so now I'm telling the guy about a discussion I had on the Opie and Anthony show. Those guys were super over at one time.
Oh yeah.
It's a shame, it ended with a racial thing and Anthony got fired, for going on a tirade on social media. But one time those guys were really, really over.
Yeah.
And I thought, to me, they would hand you the ball and let you run with it. They weren't afraid of letting the guys shine on there. So I'd been in the studio a bunch of times. They really liked having me there. I was used to seeing big stars come in and interacting with them, but Cheech and Chong come in and I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm out of my element. And Cheech finally, or maybe it was Tom, one of them goes, hey, who's this guy? Why doesn't he have anything to say? So Opie goes, this is Mick Foley. He's one of the great wrestlers. gets Chong talking about his days growing up watching Stampede Wrestling, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But they said, why don't you have anything to say? So I said to Cheech, I said, why is it you think so many great comics become great dramatic actors? And he was like, oh, that is a good question. He said, because in order to have that, degree of, whether, you're a manic comic or you're just finding the humor in things, like there's got to be a yin to that yang or yang to that yin. Like you almost have to have a little darker side in order to really embrace that comical side. So last night when I was talking to the manager, he said, comics can become good dramatic actors. But dramatic actors very rarely become good comics, he said, because being a comic requires timing. And getting the knack for timing requires getting the crap beaten out of you emotionally along the way. And so someone can get the crap beaten out of emotionally, work on being that great guy on stage, and then embrace that darker part. But it's really hard to get a good actor to go back and be willing to take that pounding emotionally in front of a live crowd as they learn the craft. And I thought, that's really interesting and really telling. But you look at a lot of the great comics who become actors, and they go, of course, Tom Hanks would do Bosom Buddies, and he did a couple of like wacky comedies. But you'd be hard pressed to find people who remember that Tom Hanks was a great stand-up comic, because he's been such a great dramatic actor. Steve Martin, he did The Jerk coming out of the gate, which I think was a great movie, and he's reverted back, and he's done Sergeant Bilko and a couple of crazy things. But by and large, he's known as a great dramatic actor.
Yeah. And
Robin Williams was the same way. He had this manic energy, and he was able to harness that and do these great roles, as World's Greatest Dad, or his role in I'm trying to think of one with Robert De Niro. Awakenings was really good. Kurt Angle told me about traveling with Robin Williams overseas to do shows for the troops. And he was like, I had to pretend to be asleep because he always felt like he needed to be on.
Yes.
And I think he'd still be alive if he learned that he didn't need to be on. He didn't need to please everybody at all times. He didn't need to be the life of the party on the plane to Iraq.
It has to be crazy pressure.
Yeah, crazy pressure. But Kurt also said it was really interesting to see him form the show. He would go out and he would have X number of minutes he would do. And then based on things that they saw and did, he would now write new material for that day, and it would grow. So I know we're a long way from where we were. I don't even know where our jumping off point was. We're probably regretting the decision to do this stuff with me.
Oh, no, not at all.
I'm a rambler, right?
No, this is great stuff, man. People want the Foley experience, and
they're getting it.